All right, let's let's talk about something that I think is very polarizing in the collective community. We're going to talk about the most silliest thing ever, but it plagues all toy collectors. We're going to be talking about scaling. What's better? What's superior? 6 inch. Is 6 inch better? Is 7 inch better? I don't know. But to be honest, I think this is the most silliest reason to argue and bicker on the internet simply because you want things your way. All right, starting off with Warhammer. So, this is a very interesting and close to home one because I actually sold all my McFarlane and bought all Joy Toy simply because Joy Toy, in my opinion, is superior. But, big old but, the McFarlane ain't bad. And for the 30 bucks I paid for, actually, yeah, 30 bucks I paid for this. And this, of course, was like 40 bucks. And yeah, the whole size thing is not that. See, you know what? No, that's for an engineering video. Yeah, y'all gonna have to come back for that one. But anyway, 7-inch scale and 1/18 scale. Now, of course, this is in accordance to how tall they are in real life. That's something people need to understand about these scales. However, I think where people go wrong is they think 6-inch scale is just the best thing since sliced bread. And I'm here to tell you, I will take this 1/18 scale any day of the week over that 6-inch scale figure. And I'm going to tell you why. Now, here's a more interesting one. So, here I have a Gundam Universe Barbatos Lupus Rex. Wrong Gundam. Barbatos Lupus. Forgot. He's Rex when he has the big old yellow fingers and, he's more beast looking. Anyway, Gundam nerd aside. Same Gundam. One is a 1/44 scale model kit and the other is a 6-inch scale action figure. So, this is a good example of understanding why they choose to do what they do. As you know, if you build Bandai kits, they have several different scales, all varying in detail and function. And then the Gundam Universe line was specifically developed for an American audience because they understood that Americans tend to like 6-inch scale action figures. So their answer to that and to put out in the American market was the Gundam Universe line. All right, so here we have the SH Figuarts Ichigo, the Anime Heroes Ichigo, and the McFarlane Toys Ichigo. Now, this is not a video about, which one is superior. This is a video about how 6-inch scale isn't the gold standard. Because if you ask me, I would argue that the 7-inch scale and the 1/12 scale are clearly better than the 6-inch scale one. But at the same time, that 6-inch scale figure was made, again, for an American audience, and you see what it looks like. Now, the 7-inch scale, of course, is tailored more to teenagers and more adult collecting, and so is the SH Figuart. Now, am I saying that these aren't fun toys? No, they're all fun. I bought all three, as you can clearly see. But when you get so stuck and hung up on, the height of a figure, you run a risk of missing out on some actually cool stuff. All right, so for this one, we're looking at the SH figuarts Deadpool and the Marvel Legends Deadpool. Now, one being in 1/12 scale, the other being in 6" scale. Again, another example of how you can have the same character in different scales. You know, paint-wise, they're doing different things, but they're two totally different companies. But the most important part is one of these is for Marvel Legends and the other one is for SH figuarts. Keep in mind, one is always going to be 6" scale. The other one's always going to be 1/12 scale. But they're both, you know, good figures. And I just think that everybody should really stop. Hey, what are you doing? Stop. Cut it out. Deadpool, no. Deadpool, no. Stop. All right, so right here I have a weird case, right? So we have a Marvel Legend Deadpool, and we have the Mezco 1/12 Deathstroke. Now, the issue I have with this is Mezco is lying. And this is no, like, dig at them, but your branding is misleading because Deadpool is 6" scale, not 1/12 scale. And Mezco is definitely not 1/12 scale. And to show you why they are not 1/12 scale, let me take him. Look how significantly larger the Mezco is, right? The Mezco is a lot beefier and it's just overall bigger, which if it were 1/12 scale would be a lot smaller. So this is a case where the company itself has its scaling completely off. All right, so here I have the 3 3/4 Star Wars Vintage Series Darth Maul standing next to the SH Figuarts Darth Maul, and next to that is a Black Series Darth Maul. So these scales are interesting because Star Wars Black Series actually uses 1/12 scale, and to my knowledge, this is the only brand that Hasbro has that utilizes 1/12 scale, which would make it semi-compatible to SH Figuarts, you know, as far as height, but when it comes to the overall, you know, look, that's where things change. And then, of course, you have the vintage, which, you know, that's in its own lane. So, needless to say, all three of these figures are fine. It's just that things change depending on what the company itself is trying to do. SH Figuarts, again, they always are using a true 1/12 scale. Does that mean it's always going to be perfect? No. But for the most part, that's their general rule of thumb. Versus Black Series is always going to be 1/12 scale. That's their general rule of thumb. And same can be said for Vintage, which is 3 3/4. All right, here we're just being a little silly. This is just plain dumb right here. But you people, please stop trying to say that this, look at that, please. Please, I like this figure, but I love this one. All right, we start with Warhammer, and dang it, we're gonna end with Warhammer. So here is two 1/18 scale figures, and as you can see, they are made to scale within one another. So this is the Adeptus Mechanicus, and they are definitely smaller in stature. You know, of course, they vary in size depending on how much stuff they didn't augmented themselves with. But over here we have a Space Marine, or in this case, an Ultra Blueberry, aka the Ultramarines. Now, when you have like this kind of, I want to say, harmonious, scaling with each other, and I'm gonna get into one issue with this Joy Toy thing in just a second, but you're able to build out a world. You're able to build dioramas. You're able to place them in things that you can't normally put a 6-inch scale figure, 7-inch, 8-inch, 12, you name it, and that is why, honestly, in my opinion, I think 1/18 scale is superior. I think 3 3/4 also is just as good. You can just do so much more with it. And for example, here is a 3 3/4 Star Wars figure next to a 1/18 scale Joy Toy figure. Now, I said I was going to get to one of the issues, and I'm about to show you. This figure has caused so much turmoil, but I don't care. People are very upset that both of these are 1/18 scale, but they do not necessarily go because technically they are both Primaris. So, what I have chosen to do is I treat this as this one's a Primaris and this one's a regular Space Marine. Now, I know that might be heresy. I'm sorry, the Emperor. I can't help myself. Look, in all honesty, the reason why this one's bigger than this one is because this is based off the video game, and I believe this is based off of the miniatures. So that is why there's such a difference in size. With that being said, they're both great. I love them both. I have no intentions of selling these things off. They're going to be here when I'm 190, and all is going to be well. All right, so in conclusion, I honestly don't think it matters. I think that, first off, good job for sticking around to the end and actually hearing me out and letting me, lace my argument down and, actually get all my thoughts out. So, pat on the back. That's my shoulder, but you know what I meant. So, collect what you want. I understand that we have our entitled collectors that feel like everything has to fit within their little worldview. Not gonna get political here. Not gonna get political. But everybody has, their cup of tea, what they prefer. But honestly, it don't matter. You're coming up with reasons to not like something. I can't buy this because it's 6-inch. Oh, I can't buy this because it's 7-inch. Man, look, if you like it, in my honest opinion, get it. Not everything has to be in this compact little world that you've created. Sometimes some things are better in different sizes. What am I talking? Never mind. So, all in all, I buy it all. From 3 3/4 to Hot Toys 1/6. Thanks, Mark. Anyway, that's all I had to say. I really wish that this division that this creates in the community, the martyrs of people who think that, I gotta go complain to the companies so that they can give me what I want to fit in my tiny little compact world that I've created. Just stop.